Greetings and salutations, our distance. This is Wolfphototech, and here we are with another delightful video. It's been a long time since I've done a Gamemaster screen. I think the most recent one was in two most recent ones were actually in the Shadow of the Dragon Queen Deluxe Edition box and Spelljammer. So two D&D ones, and then probably a few other third parties and other ones before that. But I usually try to mix it up a little bit. You always learn something interesting about game design from a Gamemaster screen. And I've always found that Gamemaster screens, as long as they're written clearly, there's sufficient void space between sections, they're always easier to process for everyone in a time of moment, and generally the lighter tone background is typically better than a dark tone background. Gamemaster screens are largely devices of utility. It's nice that they have nice artwork and style, but there's a really important point in having your Gamemaster screen designed specifically for ease of use of the Gamemaster. So today we got the data screen for Cyberpunk RED from R.Talsorian Games. There's the number for it, and then there's the MSRP, which is a pretty decent price, $20 solid. It's like not $19.99 or $19.95. It's literally $20. Trying to just get to the point. As you can see, there is a regular sheet of paper, a sleeve that goes over the screen. It has very nice artwork of Night City throughout it. And this is the side of the Gamemaster screen that you want a strong focus to art on. So, hey, it's awesome that it does it. So, cool. Now, let's flip it around. I do truly love the fact that they were very intelligent and made the decision to use a white background instead of a dark background. White backgrounds are literally the pinnacle. White or silver are the pinnacle of choices for a Gamemaster screen. The reason for this is a simple fact that white, silver, or any other light color like yellow reflects more light, and if it reflects more light, it is easier to see. Now, a common problem with a Gamemaster screen when you're game mastering is that if you set it down in an area and you're looking at it, oftentimes when you have a lot of minis or your notes or little booklets around, the stuff at the very bottom will be very hard to read because it will cast a shadow. This is oftentimes why a lot of new Gamemaster screens are in landscape. Like the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Gamemaster screen is in landscape because it makes it lower in height. Oops, I set it upside down. It makes it lower in height, so there is less shadow projected behind it. And you know what? Honestly, the text in the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Gamemaster screen is very small overall towards the bottom, which can be a problem for some people with failing eyesight. But R.Talsorian Games did the really nice thing of making sure that they used a simple white background. The screen is designed specifically for optimal usage as opposed to style. Style is a very important thing in cyberpunk games. Oftentimes it is said it is style over substance in cyberpunk, and that is the philosophy of how your characters play and the world in itself. People are trying to live larger than life, living inside of shipping containers and stuff like that. It's a fairly dystopian future the cyberpunk universe is set in. It's a fun example of corporation overreach resulting in government overreach, then corporation overreach, then everyone is screwed up, and yeah, and then the world is messed up place. But anyways, I love this Game Master screen. All the text is nice and big. If I had this in 4K mode, you could easily read a lot of this out with little difficulty. You have the skill resolution system over here in the corner, as well as the difficulty values, DV, critical success information right here, as well as the modifiers, examples, costs, and actions, and face down rules right here, as well as jobs, payment over here. You got the initiative notation right here, the move action notation, weapons damage by rate of fire, melee weapon damage ignores 1/2 SP, ranged combat resolution, single shot DVs, fire modes, auto. You got the basic actions over here. You got the initiative, move actions. You obviously want to be moving. You got the combat rules here for mostly ranged weaponry, right in this section, and then you got melee weapon, melee skill training here, and you got armor and defenses down here, and then you have health and damage effects over here through, if you got a critical hit to the body or a critical hit to the head, etc. It's actually fairly well organized from left to right, obviously by the natural flow of the game. When you start out, you would start out over here when you're roaming around in the world doing your things. When you get into a combat situation, you initiate into this. Obviously, people are most likely going to be at range, might be shooting or doing all their other stuff over here. So we naturally flow to this panel. And then as the more melee-oriented people close distance and start beating the snot out of each other, you get to this panel right here. Boop, boop, boop. You got explosive rules down here, by the way. And then after everyone's gotten the snot beaten out of them, you wander over to this panel on the far right, and you got the rules for all your wound states, and critical hits. So I'm going to say that this is a incredibly good Game Master screen. The only thing is that it is a vertical as opposed to a landscape. Most people prefer landscapes. I'm actually in the rare category of people who love vertical Game Master screens. I personally would love a 5-panel Game Master screen, so you can actually fill in more information and expand it out even more. And then some Game Master screens have a counter that goes across the top of the screen, even for initiative order. That's a nice feature. This is pretty much a 4-star Game Master screen right here. Everything is very well thought out. There's a natural progression. I can hardly see any issues in this design at all. The only things I could suggest, like enhance or improve in this, is like have a strip across the top for initiative tracking, so you can put pins and you can just move. Then have a pin here like at 0 and then move all the way across and move a marker as you go along and have different standees for different players, and then make it a 5th panel right here and just stretch it out more and increase the text size ever so slightly. However, as I said before, the text is actually pretty good size already. So it's not hard to read unless you get down into like the fine instructions for rules in some of these gray boxes. And even then, that's still pretty good text size compared to, say, like something from Wizards of the Coast. It's really funny. A lot of the smaller companies like R.Talsorian Games and Cubicle 7 and Modifius, they put a great deal of effort into making their Game Master screens very usable for their players, and even especially for people who have some disabilities, visual, cognitive impairments. Wizard of the Coast pretty much is like style over substance, since in that department they have like the basics and they throw a bunch of artwork in there. and they use really fine, really tiny font, and other than the fact that it's a horizontal, which makes it that there's less shadow behind it, it's yeah. So Wizard of the Coast can definitely improve. But this is a 4-star right here. Other than the short little list of things like including a initiative tracker on top edge, and then a 5th panel, and stretch it out and add a few more details there. And on the 5th panel, then it would be like a greater than 4-star or grade Gamemaster screen. I do love it. I wish I could actually run Cyberpunk, but I have a hard enough time moving people away from fantasy and horror TTRPGs. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful weekend, magnificent month. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and share it somewhere else, and have a delightful day. See you next time. I'm just going to take my time and stand this up and hold it while I turn off the record.